On April 1st, 2025, Hollywood lost one of its most distinctive voices when Val Kilmer passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 65. His body weakened after years of battling throat cancer and ultimately giving in to pneumonia and severe respiratory complications. Behind the headlines of his iconic roles, the actor left a carefully arranged estate that reflects both the turbulence and triumphs of his life. Reports indicate that his wealth, built from decades of blockbuster films and smart real estate holdings, is set to be divided between his two children, Mercedes and Jack Kilmer, ensuring that the legacy of their father's work and assets will directly support their own creative paths while preserving the memory of the man who gave them not just his name, but his relentless drive to create. Val Edward Kilmer was born on December 31st, 1959 in Los Angeles, California, a city that would later witness both his rise and his final days. Growing up in a family shaped by creativity and hardship, he stepped into acting as a young man and quickly carved out a place among Hollywood's most versatile talents. His career exploded in the 1980s with standout roles in Top Secret and Top Gun, and throughout the 1990s he proved his range with acclaimed performances as Jim Morrison in The Doors, the iconic Doc Holliday in Tombstone, and Bruce Wayne in Batman Forever. Off-screen, his life was equally eventful. He married British actress Joanne Whalley in 1988, and though the marriage ended in 1996, it gave him two children, Mercedes and Jack, who became his greatest personal legacy. Over decades of work, Val Kilmer left behind a body of performances that earned critical praise, box office success, and a lasting cultural imprint, a testament to an actor who never stopped pushing his craft, even as life tested him in ways few could endure. Mercedes Kilmer was born in 1991 in Los Angeles, a city already wrapped around her father's rising legend. From her earliest memories, the hum of cameras and the low, steady voice of Val Kilmer were part of daily life. She grew up watching her father balance scripts on the kitchen table, hearing him rehearse lines for characters that would soon become iconic. When The Doors premiered in 1991, Mercedes was still a baby, yet years later she would see the posters on the walls and understand that while most fathers went to offices, hers stepped into other identities, other worlds, and brought those worlds back home. Childhood for her wasn't quiet. It was marked by long absences when her father was on location and by intense bursts of his attention when he returned. Arms full of stories and gifts from distant sets. Even then, the contrast between fame's spotlight and the private reality of her family began shaping how she viewed the industry. In the mid-1990s, as Val Kilmer's career soared with Tombstone and Batman Forever, Mercedes started school with the knowledge that her father was not just a man but a public figure constantly under scrutiny. Paparazzi flashes at airports, whispers from classmates about her father's movies. These moments created both pride and unease. When her parents divorced in 1996, she was 5, old enough to feel the fracture but too young to understand the pressures behind it. She split her time between her mother Joanne Whalley's quieter home and Val's world of scripts and rehearsals. Those years taught her adaptability. She saw that even in pain, her father remained deeply protective, calling often, attending school events when schedules allowed, and teaching her that an artist's life demanded sacrifice but not the loss of family ties. By her teenage years, Mercedes had grown into a thoughtful observer of her father's craft. She spent summers visiting him on film sets, quietly absorbing the way he transformed into characters, how he negotiated with directors, how he held himself with calm authority despite the chaos around him. It was during these visits that she discovered her own love for storytelling. She began acting in school plays, experimenting with music, and writing lyrics late at night. Watching Val face both adoration and criticism gave her an early lesson in resilience. Art was never without risk. Even when his health started to falter in the late 2000s, he remained a source of encouragement, reviewing her early scripts, reminding her that every role required vulnerability. When Mercedes entered adulthood, she chose to step carefully into the industry, appearing in independent films rather than chasing blockbuster fame. Her performances carried a quiet intensity that critics trace back to her father's style. In interviews, she often spoke of Val not just as a parent, but as a mentor who taught her the discipline behind artistry. Their bond deepened when Val was diagnosed with throat cancer in the mid-2010s. She stood by him through treatments, attending hospital visits, and adapting to his changing voice. That period became a turning point in her life. While friends pursued personal ambitions, Mercedes learned the meaning of legacy, of standing beside someone who had given so much to cinema. As Val's health stabilized and then declined again in later years, Mercedes continued to work, building a portfolio that blended acting and music. She appeared in intimate projects, lending her voice to soundtracks and making deliberate choices that honored her family's name without exploiting it. When the documentary Val premiered in 2021, she was present not only as his daughter but as someone who helped shape the narrative, offering footage, memories, and insights into his private struggles and triumphs. That film became a testament to their shared journey, revealing a side of Val Kilmer the world had rarely seen. When Val Kilmer passed away on April 1, 2025, the news broke through Hollywood like a wave of silence. Mercedes, now in her 30s, suddenly found herself holding pieces of a legacy far greater than she had imagined. The estate, carefully prepared by Val, included residuals from decades of films, intellectual property rights, and investments in Los Angeles real estate. Mercedes inherited not just wealth but responsibility. Along with her brother Jack, she became a steward of their father's image, ensuring that future uses of his likeness and works honored his values. For her, the inheritance was never just financial. It was a call to preserve what made him extraordinary: the fearless devotion to his craft, the humanity beneath the fame. Today, Mercedes Kilmer stands as more than Val Kilmer's daughter. She is an artist in her own right, carrying forward a name that holds weight in Hollywood. Her career, shaped by his guidance and shadowed by his struggles, reflects a balance between honoring a legacy and carving her own identity. The wealth he left behind provides security, but the true inheritance lies in the lessons he etched into her life: that art is both a gift and a burden, and that family endures even after the spotlight fades. Jack Kilmer entered the world in 1995, a time when his father was already cemented as one of Hollywood's most versatile leading men. Born in Los Angeles, he grew up amid the hum of movie sets and the soft glow of editing room monitors. Yet his earliest memories of Val Kilmer were not of red carpets, but of quiet evenings, his father reading to him with that unmistakable voice that could shift from tender to commanding in a heartbeat. Childhood for Jack was a mix of private moments and public curiosity. He was often too young to grasp why strangers wanted photographs or why whispers followed them at restaurants. But he quickly learned to watch his father with a kind of respectful distance, sensing that artistry came with invisible battles. Through his school years, Jack developed a fascination with drawing and music, mirroring the eclectic interests he saw in Val. He would sit backstage while his father rehearsed lines, sketching characters in his notebook, sometimes slipping into small school productions himself. Unlike his sister Mercedes, Jack spent longer wrestling with whether to step into the industry. He watched Val navigate intense roles and relentless schedules, and he watched the toll it took on his health and relationships. These lessons lingered when Jack was a teenager, standing just off camera on one of Val's later sets, observing the exacting patience his father demanded from himself and others. Those lessons were not lost. The value of preparation, the weight of authenticity, and the price of fame. In 2013, still in his late teens, Jack accepted a role in the film Palo Alto. It was a quiet breakout that critics praised for its raw honesty, and in interviews he spoke little of his family name, preferring to let the work speak for itself. Those who knew him privately, however, saw Val's influence in the way he approached scripts: thoughtful, questioning, unwilling to accept easy choices. Through his 20s, Jack built a resume in independent cinema, gravitating toward complex characters and offbeat narratives rather than franchise fame. All the while, he maintained a close bond with Val, visiting him frequently as health challenges mounted. When Val's cancer treatments began to reshape his voice and appearance, Jack stepped in with quiet loyalty. He attended premieres by his father's side, even narrating portions of the 2021 documentary Val to give audiences a sense of continuity between the man and his family. Those who watched could feel the connection: Jack's calm cadence interwoven with footage of his father in his prime, a bridge between eras. The experience seemed to deepen his resolve. He pursued his craft with a steadier rhythm, knowing that each project was another thread in the tapestry his family had been weaving for decades. By the time Val passed away in April 2025, Jack was 30, already known in his own right, but still shaped by the shadow and guidance of his father. The estate settlement placed him alongside Mercedes as joint heir, not only to substantial financial holdings, but also to the guardianship of Val's artistic legacy. The residuals from films like Top Gun and Tombstone, royalties from streaming rights, and carefully chosen property investments in California were entrusted to them. Yet for Jack, the inheritance meant more than figures on paper. It was a charge to protect the reputation of a man who had given so much of himself to audiences worldwide. Today, Jack Kilmer continues to forge a career defined by understated performances and deliberate choices, carrying his father's lessons into every audition and every set. He remains deeply connected to Mercedes, collaborating with her on select creative projects, and honoring Val's memory by choosing substance over spectacle. The fortune their father left behind provides them both freedom, but the truest wealth is the blueprint of integrity and courage Val Kilmer embedded into their lives. A legacy that neither time nor mortality can erase. But Val Kilmer's story is only one thread in a much larger tapestry. A world where brilliance on screen can build a legend while quietly breaking the hearts that orbit it. Beyond his two children are others in Hollywood who carry names even heavier, stories even sharper, legacies shaped by triumphs no headline captured, and wounds no spotlight ever softened. In the episodes ahead, we'll step deeper into those unseen corridors, where families built on shimmering reputations hide fractures the public was never meant to witness. If you don't want to miss what comes next, subscribe to Legacy Uncovered and join us as we reveal more untold lives behind the legends. Thank you for listening.